My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. It is 3:21 a.m. on Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, where the elderly population that are exposed for engaging in domestic terrorism and psychological torture. This is gang stalking, where there is no distinction with regard to the age bracket of those that are engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is also revealing what is mental illness that is closeted amongst a population that is also exposed as being demon possessed. And at 3:21 in the morning, where you are also aware of the same population, which is at Woodside Senior Apartments, is never sleeping, because you saw the fake sun that's over the same apartment building at 7:44 in the morning, at 11:50 in the morning, at 12:37 in the afternoon. That is 5 hours, by the way, over the same exact apartment. And you also know, based on the video evidence of the elderly, the senior citizen Tracy Banks gang stalking under the 5:21 p.m. fake sun over the same building. This is where the demons are up, are engaging in what is a 24-hour federal group stalking and monitoring with the state and all the people of the state, who are also not only stalking with amplified noise inside of this apartment building full of demons who are demon possessed, who are mentally ill psychopaths, who are surrounded by insurmountable evidence with regard to prosecuting them and also diagnosing each one of them individually, while they are stalking with amplified noise and engineered light that you also know covers all of the apartment buildings where they are living gang stalking at this late hour in engineered light. This is occurring while I'm walking into the kitchen, and all the demons are engaging what is monitoring the evidence that I'm also working on the internet. When I'm also, let me go ahead and reference the video so you can know what the demons are hostile to. They're hostile to everything that I am publishing online, but in particular what I documented on February 28, 2024, in the video showing what is the evidence of stalking with light. Very demonic. While my shadow is appearing upright on my bedroom wall, where the sun is not seen, the sun would also be above the building. And so this is speaking to the same gymnastics that you're seeing, where all these demons are gang stalking under a fake sun that remains over the apartment building in Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments. No shared environment, but a shared pattern of conduct regarding a phenomenon of what is this gymnastics with light activity, when you're recognizing the demonic system where surveillance is underway, and it's criminal surveillance that a government is doing in reliance upon a bunch of demon-possessed people who are stalking and monitoring one person together. It's gang stalking. And in this video that's captured on February 28, 2024 at 1:31 p.m. and 7 seconds, this 13-minute and 46-second video is where I am including legal analysis regarding the elderly people who, regardless of whether they're on a cane or on a walker, just like I've stated, when I'm analyzing and you're looking at the demons pacing on this sidewalk at Tracy Banks' apartment at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 7:21 in the morning, at 5:21 in the afternoon, at 3:05 in the afternoon, at 6:18 in the evening, the entity is stalking, and regardless of whether they're leaning over on a walker or on a cane, they're going to prison. And the entity is aware of what it is that I'm stating, the demons that are engaged in what is 24-hour surveillance, which you also know as YouTube monitoring me with ads referencing the genitalia. That is, again, alluding to my genitalia that all of these sex offenders that are senior citizens are monitoring as well. The entity is engaging what is monitoring this evidence, which is documentation about all these old people that are stalking on a 24-hour basis, and that's exactly where they're going. They're going whether they're on a cane, whether they have edema, whether they're covered in liver spots, whether they have crusty skin, whether they are covered with wrinkles like Tracy Banks is. Regardless of whatever their race and age and physical handicap, they're going to federal prison and mental asylums. And the demons that are monitoring the evidence, referencing the old and the physically handicapped, that are equally engaging in the very highly threatening and psychologically harmful pattern of conduct in a specific environment where your age and physical handicap is legally irrelevant and actually irrelevant. The entity is engaging what is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. And it's no coincidence that while I'm referencing a bunch of old people at Alvarado Gardens who are subject to federal prison, all the old people that are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments are in Ontario, who are also being prosecuted with the evidence of what happened in LA and with the evidence that they are continuously providing while I'm in Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments. These are the fools that are aged senior citizens gang stalking, and whether they're on a walker or whether they can walk upright while they're pacing around in engineered light, they're going to prison and mental asylums. These are the demons that are inside of the building, units 49 through 64 in particular, but those that are sharing in the criminal elements and monitoring, obsessively stalking in the path and stalking with light include the demons in units 33 through 48, who are also subject to prison and mental asylums. The demons that are over 55 years old at Woodside are stalking with amplified noise, while I reference the old people at Alvarado Gardens who are going to prison and mental asylums for gang stalking in the same exact manner, pursuant to the same exact pattern of conduct, in the same exact specific environment, which is speaking to a phenomenon which is evidence that is beyond anything that any person could ever make up. And that is speaking to insurmountable evidence regarding an identical and unique and very specific pattern of conduct that the Los Angeles Police Department, in the same way that the city of Ontario, are sharing, engaging in. And these old people are indeed going to federal prison. And stalking with amplified noise is ongoing confirmation of surveillance on the venue of the internet, which their criminal pattern of conduct that is diligently documented has already proven. The entity is doing so with impunity. All right, these demons that are using the aged at Woodside Senior Apartments are going to cause each of them to be subject to what is diagnoses, mental diagnoses for their obvious mental issues when they are engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is entirely malicious, it's psychopathic, it's sexually predatory and perverted and motivated, and it's also criminal. It's all state action, and that's why I'm at a senior citizen complex, and at 3:21 in the morning, amplified booming is occurring twice. With regard to, and I also like to include all the details, because remember, monitoring is very unique and specific to the person who's being gang stalked. So the entity that is monitoring online will reference and while you are being monitored, even through ads that appear on the internet, referencing that which they are intrigued with what they're fascinated by, what they are sexually aroused by, which is genitalia, my genitalia. That is kept under surveillance under a fake sun that's rising and setting at the senior citizen apartment complex, where the elderly are exposed as the predators, the sex offenders that they are, gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments. Criminal interference with quiet enjoyment is also criminal conduct that AVANATH Capital Management is engaging in at 3:21 in the morning, where it's keeping an occupant at its property, which is a facilitating venue, under surveillance with the city of Ontario, that's with the state. All right, and that's also why they're subject to civil and criminal prosecution. It's also exposing the mental illness of psychopaths who are not actually asleep. They're not taking a nap, and the specific environment is evidence of that. They are not asleep. They're not ever taking a break or minding their business at nightfall. The old people are never ceasing to engage in that P.O.C, and they are stalking by residents in the building where amplified noise is occurring. They're going to prison. The demons that are on walkers in unit number 52, they're going to federal prison. The demon that's in unit 56 who has 2 dogs and she doesn't need a walker to pace around in engineered light, she's going to federal prison. The demon possessed gang stalker in unit 55 that paces around without a walker and a cane, she's going to a mental asylum. Tracy Banks, the senior citizen gang stalking, you see her pacing around and she doesn't need a walker, she's going to be pacing in her cell in a mental asylum, regardless of whether they can walk by themselves or whether they have an actual physical handicap. They're going exactly where the evidence demonstrates they need to be, and it's federal prison and mental asylums. Monitoring me and harassing and terrorizing me while I am documenting their criminal conduct is the ongoing intent to obstruct justice, and engaging in what is obstruction of justice with the intent to psychologically torture. That's where that's relevant. It's 3:29 a.m. This is the admission of federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. It's a criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. So is the impossible light activity. So is the stalking under the fake sun. So is the pacing of a whole bunch of hollowed out zombies whose condition and criminal conduct is known, even while they monitor the documentation, and the impunity is documented as well. It's all an ongoing means of psychologically torturing someone, which the entity is going to be liable for, civilly and criminally. It's April 30th, 3:30 a.m., where amplified booming is heard inside of the apartment and engineered light remains. I've already documented the engineered light not only inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, which is impossible light activity, but also the engineered light covers all of the grounds. The fake sun is nothing other than an unintelligent prop in the sky, and it's so unintelligent that it stays over the same building for over 10 hours. So that's clearly showing these are demons, these are stalkers, these are predators that are also psychopaths who become enraged and angry when you speak to the fact of their inevitable consequences, which includes prison. And that's where psychopaths that are mad because they want to stalk you in furtherance of trying to kidnap you and murder you, and they're mad about that. That's where psychopaths like that belong, by the way. That's obvious. It's 3:30 a.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:21 p.m. on April 30th, 2025. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring at the same facilitating venue where the state is engaged in surveillance, and surveillance is also being documented as the ongoing perpetual sex offense that the government, in concert with the people of the state, who is the vicarious arm of the same exact government engaging in a criminal system, and it's exposing the sex offender that is the entity engaged in gang stalking. When it's happening in an apartment, at an apartment complex, it's also ongoing in places like bathrooms where the government is not under any circumstances legitimately engaged in any surveillance, absent any warrant or probable cause, any ongoing investigation about some sort of criminal conduct occurring inside of the genitalia of an American citizen, where they've got any sort of criminal conduct ongoing that they participate or engage in bathrooms. The entity is merely engaging in surveillance in the bathroom because the entity is a sex offender, and the entity is acting with regard to the elements of monitoring at approximately 9:11 p.m., where Tracy Banks is stalking in the path inside of her apartment, which is the established specific environment at the established facilitating venue of Woodside Senior Apartments, where again the perpetual sex offense is committed by a whole entity. So you have all the old people and the government monitoring me in the bathroom, where Tracy Banks decides at the moment I go into the bathroom to engage in a conversation on speakerphone where she is stating that Tommy Allen Banks, a convicted sex offender and also a sex offender engaged in gang stalking, is the third party that's intentionally on the phone, knowing that I'm also indisposed in the bathroom. She's not on the phone with people that are not monitoring me as well, that are not aware of what I'm doing as well. These are demons. Secondly, you're going to prosecute for the criminal conduct as you are using evidence, tangible evidence. And the entity is admittedly stating whether Tommy Allen Banks is actually on the phone or not. It's an admission, and she is using as a form of audible activity, aware of the fact that I'm documenting, referencing a third party that she knows I've also documented. And so I'm not going to say hi to Tommy while he's monitoring my genitalia. But this is something that Tracy Banks uses. This is a psychopath, a violent sex offender, a pedophile who's been engaged in sexually perverted means of monitoring, and also sexually perverted conduct as a pedophile since I was a child. So she's engaging in sexual violence while I'm subject to gang stalking, which she is engaging in and facilitating with the state. But nonetheless, at 9:11 p.m., which is what her phone records will reflect, this is when she is on the phone, and she is not starting a conversation on speakerphone. She's not talking on the phone at all until I go into the bathroom, and that's when my genitalia is exposed. I'm engaged in private activity. I'm in a private space. This is what a sex offender is doing with regard to stalking with activity amongst the engineered light that you also know fills her apartment, where the fake sun rises and sets. It stays for 11 hours over her apartment, where the documentation also proves that the government is stalking me while I'm at her apartment in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct, and where sex offenders like Tommy Allen Banks have engaged in monitoring before. Whether or not Tommy Allen Banks is actually on the phone or not is a detail that is capable of being later on established, but nonetheless she's using a communication device. It's Title 18, federal stalking, as a means of engaging in what is surveillance, facilitating it, and she's also gang stalking with corrupt government actors like Jason Isaac Fields, somebody that's been having sex with this pedophile for over 20 years. So they are engaged in what is a long history of sexual activity, sexually perverted activity, and also the perverted act of gang stalking me and engaging in what is trying to have sex with me while he's been having sex with Tracy Banks since she was my age. So since she was in her 40s, Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks have been having sex with each other, secretly, of course, while he was maintaining a fake friendship with me that was, again, rooted in what was nothing other than his ongoing endeavor in trying to have sex with me. And thank God Thank God, okay, that there was never any serious relationship, because this demon is, again, a predator as well. This is why he was attracted to and engaged in long-term sexual relationship with a predator like Tracy Banks, because they are indeed kingdom spouses who are related. They are in covenant, in spirit, in the spirit of lust, the spirit of delusion. Mental illness is rooted in a spirit, and they are linked together in that regard as well. And also the spirit of obsession. They are both obsessed with me. They're both monitoring me in the spirit, and they're also both gang stalking. And they've been doing so for years. And this is, again, a state actor that is gang stalking with Tracy Banks, who uses her cell phone as a means of activity creation. At the moment that the predator knows that I'm pulling my panties down, I'm engaged in private activity while she's stalking in the path in her apartment like a psychopath. That is gang stalking and is also obsessed with my genitalia. Her obsession with my genitalia is proven through her sexual activity with those that are in my social circle. That becomes relevant where she is a gang stalking mother who is obsessed with me. It's relevant to diagnosing her mental illness as well, because her sexual activity is rooted in everything that I was doing. She was stalking me. Everywhere that I was going, she was stalking. Everyone that I was associated with, she was stalking them as well. And with regard to infiltrating my social circle and having sex with them, they're not victims. Jason Isaac Fields wasn't raped. Jason Isaac Fields is a demon-possessed person whose particular demonic spirit is one of lust. And that's why he would be having sex for, this would be decades, with my mother, secretly, never mentioning the fact that he ever even met her, while he's also been gang stalking. And this is, again, back in 2010, when I'm graduating from college at Cal State, when in 2013, when he's living in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're talking on the phone, and he's already had sexual relations with Tracy Banks. When I'm in college at Cal State, before I graduated, he would come to California, come visit me at my dorm, and engage in sexual activity with Tracy before he went back to Las Vegas, Nevada, gang stalking and doing so. Okay. I want to be clear. This is somebody that's been engaged in what is exceptionally perverted and disgusting conduct. When you're dissecting the personal life of a predator like Jason Isaac Fields, this is exposing what is criminal conduct, which, again, Satan used him to engage in against me. This is somebody that is still gang stalking to date with his sex partner, his kingdom spouse, Tracy Banks, who is monitoring on her phone. She is engaging in the pattern of conduct with Jason Isaac Fields, who is not engaging in any legitimate investigation. This person has been gang stalking with his sex partner, Tracy Banks, for years, criminally defaming me, and is currently engaged in what is still engaging in practicing witchcraft. And this is somebody that is also delusional, and has been having sex with my mother for decades, and then is, again, delusional with regard to ever even being in any circle where he would be physically around me, let alone that I would even have a conversation with someone that is so sexually familiar with my mother, who is obsessed with me sexually and gang stalking me. There's a lot of intricacies with regard to the mentally ill state of both Jason Fields and Tracy Banks, whose sexual activity is rooted in both of their spiritual state of being lost. They're both demons. They're both possessed with demonic spirits, and they're also engaged in what is gang stalking, which is demonic activity. They are obsessed with me. They're both gang stalking me and have been doing so, and they're also, again, hostile toward me. These demonic spirits both are obsessed with me and also hate me, and Jason Isaac Fields is so delusional, so lost. This person is engaged in what is spiritually attacking, and the demons that are using him have him under the impression that he is in love. This is somebody that is sexually obsessed with Tracy Banks, and that spirit is causing what is obsession with me. It is irrational. It's not based on any factual objective evidence where he should be obsessed with me. We have no relationship. We have no friendship. We have no long existing sexual contact like he's had with Tracy Banks since she was in her 40s. She's now in her 60s. So he's been engaged in a long-term sexual relationship with Tracy Banks, and this is someone that is, again, spiritually attacking me and gang stalking me. This is someone that has no actual basis to have any sort of contact with me, have any sort of desire or expectation to have anything other than outright and necessarily public rejection. Not only based on what is very spooky and creepy about this demon, this predator, Jason Fields, who has a spirit of a rapist. This is a person that is, it is perplexing only insofar as what must be necessary with regard to the severely mentally sick condition of one that would engage in decades of sex with your mother and then engaging in what is harassing and gang stalking you, as though that's going to result in any sort of voluntary, loving, reciprocated relationship under any circumstances. This person is very mentally deranged. And I'm only referencing that because you need to understand that the government is gang stalking. The government is not investigating anything. The government is gang stalking and is also seeking to control the outcome of this situation, which will never result in my ever permitting Jason Isaac Fields to have any contact with me outside of making sure that he is arrested promptly. This is somebody that is mentally sick. This is somebody who's, again, shares mental illness with his sex partner, Tracy Banks. You understand, when you engage in sexual activity with people, you share spiritual oneness. And he's been sharing spiritual oneness with a very sick person with multiple personalities, with multiple demons. It includes Tracy Banks, for decades. And he's been doing that intentionally and knowingly. And it is not the case that now in 2025, he's all of a sudden not demon possessed. He's all of a sudden not mentally sick. He's all of a sudden not obsessed and delusional with regard to any prospect with me. Outside of being demon possessed, this person has no opportunity or prospect whatsoever of even being someone that I would sit down and have a cup of tea with, let alone that I would under any circumstances acknowledge as a legitimate investigator in what has been federal group stalking and monitoring from the outset. Back in 2010, when he would travel to California, gang stalking me, having sex before going back with Tracy Banks before going back to Nevada. He was intentionally and knowingly doing that as a fake friend who was monitoring me. He was doing that in 2013, in 2000, when we would only talk on the phone, in 2016, when he relocated to California, maintaining a more heavily sexual activity with Tracy Banks, while again maintaining that ongoing secret relationship while gang stalking me the whole time, intentionally and knowingly, not ignorantly and accidentally doing that. This is somebody that has been targeting me for years, and Tracy Banks having sex with people in my social circle is an aspect relevant to her prosecution and the prosecution of the people of the state. It is relevant to note that a predator like Jason Isaac Fields, who is spiritually attacking and gloating about the fact that he expects no consequences for engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is criminal conduct that you engage in when you are intending to kidnap someone by falsely depicting them as mentally ill, when you use demonic activity to target that person that you anticipated, that you thought would never be able to prove it, and that's not what happened. So now that Jason is exposed as the mentally sick, sexually perverted psychopath who was gang stalking an American citizen, he has been forced in a position where he is conceding some information. But this is a predator that fully intended on committing murder with Tracy Banks, his sex partner, and engaging in kidnapping and criminally defaming and doing so with his sex partner, he's been targeting me with since before 2010. Okay, because this looking like a prepubescent, skinny, large foreheaded third party who then did nothing other than take steroids and get taller, go through a growth spurt, and this is not making any sort of acceptable third party. This is somebody that is, in other words, physically altered his image while he's been engaged in what is disgusting. I mean, the body count is over hundreds of people. This is a demonic spirit that he shares with Tracy Banks, whose promiscuity is rooted in people that I am associated with. And that includes Jason Isaac Fields. But nonetheless, this is somebody that is very delusional. And that delusion is a threat to me. That delusion is speaking to what is somebody that is still gang stalking and is sexually obsessed with me and has no basis to be. I want to be clear, a normal person that has sex with you should not become obsessed with you either. That's not normal either. But I'm stating this person has no basis to have this level of obsession. It's rooted in his obsession with sex, with a witch, where they were practicing witchcraft together. They were gang stalking, worshiping Satan together, while in the midst of their sexual activity, which spanned over 20 years. And this is all while unbeknownst to me, and this is somebody that was never my friend. This is somebody that is a pervert, wanted to have sex with me while still having sex with my mother. This is somebody that is now obsessed with me and is feigning to be somebody other than the same gang stalker that he was before he got a job with the government. And he only got that job with the government because he's been gang stalking me, period. It's an opportunity that he got based on his criminal engagement and what is targeting me. And I am the interest of the state. I am what the state has been interested in maintaining surveillance over because of the entity being aware of who I am in the spirit. And that is somebody that is capable of identifying what people don't want you to know about the fact that they have demons, the fact that they're engaged in criminal conduct, which can also be connected to their demon possession. This is what is very much a threat to the government that's engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is a demonic system of targeting American citizens. And demons, failures, life flunkies, predators, nymphomaniacs, when you're referencing in the secular what is demon possession by a lustful spirit, like Jason Isaac Fields' condition exists as. This is somebody whose position in government is rooted in the fact that he's been targeting me and having sex with people like Tracy Banks. This is somebody that is not actually successful in his personal and professional life. This is somebody that needs to be removed from law enforcement permanently, but also is still engaged in what are things, disgusting, perverted things like bathroom monitoring with Tracy Banks, who is speaking to the fact that Tommy Allen Banks is again monitoring my genitalia while I am subject to the P.O.C. in Tracy Banks' bathroom in her apartment, where the pattern of conduct remains underway. Discussing Jason Isaac Fields is relevant to the government that is gang stalking, the government that is engaging in the elements of monitoring in the city of Ontario. But remember, the federal government is facilitating the state's P.O.C., is relying on the states to engage in the P.O.C. And so were Jason Isaac Fields employed by a federal law enforcement agency, that federal law enforcement agency is inextricably linked to the corrupt and criminal and unethical behavior of Jason Isaac Fields, who's not conducting any legitimate investigation. This is a demon-possessed person still engaging in the satanic targeting system, merely calling it an investigation. Analogous. Another illustration of the same thing. Federal group stalking and monitoring while you were calling it an inspection. This is what the City of Ontario and AVANATH Capital Management committed on April 25th, 2025. Jason Isaac Fields is the same sex offender, the same stalker, the same predator that's been engaged in what is decades of sex with Tracy Banks, somebody that's obsessed with me. And Jason Isaac Fields is still gang stalking, and it is not an actual investigation. This is someone that is gang stalking, I want to be clear, however, and not actually putting a stop to the criminal system that he and the law agency that he is a part of have not stopped yet and interfered with. Because they are seeking and they are failing, there will be no changing what is an inevitable permanent removal of every demon, including Tracy Banks and her kingdom spouse, Jason Isaac Fields. These two sex-addicted demons will never have anything to do with any detail in my life, and prolonging the criminal system that I remain subject to, continuously engaging in what is monitoring my genitalia, maintaining an ongoing unabated program of psychological torture in doing so, and permitting every other demon-possessed gang stalker to continuously monitor me with them is not changing that inevitable result. Bathroom monitoring is the direct result of public corruption that corrupt law enforcement agencies that Jason Isaac Fields are part of, is the criminal conduct of the government, and it remains the ongoing criminal conduct of the government. And the entity that is prolonging justice that I am entitled to, not because of the heroic acts of the government. I have forced the government to admit to engaging in what is gang stalking me because of my evidence, that is the P.O.C. The government never intended to provide justice. The government never intended to admit to engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring, but for my abilities, which the government knew at the outset that I had. That's why they were targeting me in the first place. And bathroom monitoring is the evidence of what is necessitating federal prison for sex offenders like Jason Isaac Fields, permanent removal from law enforcement of sex offenders like Jason Isaac Fields, who are gang stalking me with predators like Tracy Banks and Tommy Allen Banks, and the people of the state at Woodside Senior Apartments. I want to be clear, the fact that I remain, and the reason why I remain subject to federal group stalking and monitoring to date, as of April 30, 2025, is not because the case is not already solved. It is known who the stalker is, who the sex offender is, who the obsessed actor is. All of those who have been defaming my name and necessarily like cowards who are fearful of me speaking the truth about them, doing it ignorantly while I'm documenting them, and they're secretly on the world stage defaming my character, those are the same ones that are obsessed with my genitalia. Those are the same ones that have been gang stalking me and having sex with each other and worshiping Satan in doing so. Those are the same ones that are petrified at the idea of you knowing the truth, the fact that they want to be me, they would love to be with me, and it's never going to happen. They are mentally sick, each and every one of them, independently and collectively, as a demon-possessed entity that has been gang stalking me for years. Just like Tracy Banks, just like Jason Isaac Fields. All right. While also seeking to try to steal my content That is evidence of their demon possession and their criminal activity, while also wanting to falsely depict my character at the same time. I am the one that created the content that the entity would like to claim ownership of and profit from. That's a basis of prosecution. All the absurdly corrupt acts that this entity has engaged in while trying to murder me silently, secretly in the background, while still what it is that I've created, while they're having sex with each other and worshiping my genitalia together. This is what these Jezebel spirits have been doing for decades, namely Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. No prolonging of justice, no prolonging and avoidance of what is nothing other than outright permanent removal from my life, which will be supported by federal law, is going to change my mind. Jason Isaac Fields is nothing other than a highly delusional pervert, okay, to say the least. Somebody that is sexually confused and sexually perverted, having sex with men and women, having sex with my parental figure, having sex while worshiping Satan at the same time. This person is immersed in darkness and is personally and spiritually disqualified, and is not conducting any legitimate investigation. He has been forced into outing what he's been doing for decades, and he failed at it, which is an embarrassment to the kingdom of darkness, which he is a part of. We are not equally yoked. He's equally yoked with his kingdom spouse, Tracy Banks, who's obsessed with my genitalia that she's monitoring, okay, at 9:11 p.m. on April 30th, 2025. No person that ever had sex with Tracy Banks, let alone for decades, is ever going to have anything to do with my personal life. When I move on and I collect all the monies that have been stolen from me, all the property that has been stolen from me, and the entity is forced to rehabilitate my character while seeking to falsely depict it, while gang stalking me the whole time. They are the actual psychopaths. They are the actually mentally ill population. They are the actual stalkers. They are the actual sex offenders. They are the actual criminals and predators, the thieves, the frauds. It's them. In fact, literally, the evidence proves it. And nobody is innocent in doing so. Contrary to what they would want to communicate and represent to the public. Oh, I was tricked into this, and oh, I was bamboozled into that, and oh, I didn't know that they're all lying. They did what was in them to do, and they're demons. They also need Christ Jesus. And the fact that they're embarrassed by the things that they've been doing is no issue or problem of mine. I'm getting justice and I'm moving on. And this documentation is proof and supporting what is going to be federal law that supports predators like Tracy Banks, who belongs in a mental asylum, Jason Isaac Fields, who belongs in federal prison, from never having any contact with me. And if they ever do, that is stalking, nothing other than stalking, then they will be subject to what is a prosecution and confinement, like any other restraining order would provide. Okay, it is April 30th, 2025. It's 9:42 p.m. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring, and documentation what bathroom monitoring that I remain subject to is evidence of. The ongoing pattern of conduct, not because the case has not already been proven, but because delusional demons like Jason Isaac Fields, who are not conducting any legitimate investigation at all. They're permitting the ongoing criminal pattern of conduct, and they're doing so with a delusional agenda. Christ Jesus is not changing who has been removed from my life, and it includes sex offenders, demons like Jason Fields. It includes demons like Eric Spencer, demons like Tracy Banks, demons like Tommy Allen Banks. These people are literally irrelevant. Satan has been using them, and now they're being embarrassed, and Satan is laughing at each and every one of them individually, and so will be the world, the public, looking at the egregious, despicable, disgusting, corrupt, and vile things that they're embarrassed to be known about. But it needs to be known, because you need to know what Satan, the extent to which Satan went to try to stop little old me. Little old me. Okay? One who cannot, I will not negotiate with Satan nor any of Satan's minions. I will not compromise under any circumstances. I will never speak against the name of Christ Jesus, the only one, by the way, who has been protecting me and watching over me. No act of witchcraft, no sex ritual that Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks can commit and engage in together is any power standing against Christ Jesus. And that's why Jason Isaac Fields is being blocked spiritually and physically from my life, and is being exposed and prosecuted, and is not a part of what Christ has for me, which is deliverance from predators, from demons like him. All right. This is not a fable. This is not some Disney story. This is real life. It's federal group stalking and monitoring, and it's the practical outworking of how the demon possessed have lost in this endeavor to try to take out a child of God. And you're always going to lose in that, always. So now what is the result of that? Now everybody's going to go through a whole return to sender, an outward public embarrassment and shame for what they try to do and what they try to get away with. And then I want to be clear, common sense dictates, why would you even think that you were capable to do that in the first place? Oh, because Satan relies on numbers, because you thought you had all this power and authority because of your job and because of all the people that are on your team, a losing team, that you were going to overwhelm the power of Christ. Again, Satan using those who are literally at the outset inferior in the physical, and they're also spiritually inferior. Okay, I'm victorious because of who I am in Christ. And there is no amount of inferior people. And inferiority is based on, let me be clear, the person that would engage and participate in this system in the first place, you're inferior. You are already a loser. I would never, ever participate in any regard. I would never have sex with anybody's parent. Nobody could trick me into that. I would never trip and fall on on one of my friend's parental figures' genitalia. I would never be tricked into it. You couldn't pay me to do it. Jason Isaac Fields is a predator, a gang stalker, a demon-possessed person, and a bad person, a despicable, a disgusting person, period. Regardless of all the excuses that he tells himself while he is still being tormented by demons. Period. He needs Jesus, and him, and in that endeavor, if he finds Jesus, I pray that he does, but he's going to do it outside of my presence. And the entity that is prolonging justice is the entity that's going to be prosecuted. It is currently 9:46 p.m. where bathroom monitoring is pursuant to the gang stalking that the government is continuing with predators like Tracy Banks. Understand, the entity that's gang stalking with the sex offender is a sex offender. This is P.O.C.